Hello, you fucks. Welcome to John Solo's Beard Brigade. I'm John Solo. You are not, and yeah, all that stuff. You know the way this works. I'm not even going to do all these show things. I'm really excited about my guest. I'm going to bring my guest on. Hello, Kiki. How the hell are you? I
Hello, John.
I normally do this whole show intro thing, but I was really enjoying our conversation here. So one of my good friends sent me last year. We call them the toasty boot scoots is what they are. So the toasty boot scoots. They are the thickest wool socks. This gal, she lives in Scotland, and these things. I mean, they are
Oh,
literally, dude. They're like this thick. It's
wow.
ridiculous, and they've got.
So you like can't wear shoes with them at all.
Oh no, no, no! Yeah, there's shoes are
Like
not
it's
an
just
option.
those.
Yeah, I have worn them camping before in cold weather camping and walked out on the ground with just these things on. They're amazing, and they have like the little little tread things on the bottom of them and shit.
Mm, yeah,
They're
so you don't like slip.
intense.
Yeah.
No, you couldn't slip. Jody's got them on right now, and Jody, my wife has my wife was a volleyball player. She was an athlete when she was younger, and she has like she has big calves. I'm talking like muscular calves. They're amazing. They're
Okay.
intense. I like them a lot. I mean, I'm pretty fond of them. But I mean, they're not small calves. To give you some sort of perspective, we were buying boots at the Renaissance Festival one year, and Jody
Okay.
wanted these particular boots. And she couldn't fit the boots over these. They're big calves. They're not fat. It's fucking She's
Muscle.
she
Well
broke
earned
her
muscle.
she broke her last three thigh masters. She's an amazing girl. So yeah, these these toasty boot scoots, when she's wearing them today and when she puts these things on, it's like some sort of dwarven. I mean, they're like they're boots on. They're amazing. I love them to death. So what I want to do is I want to find a pair of toasty boot scoots to send to Melissa Gramling. That way she
Oh,
can put these.
she could probably use them.
Yeah, she can put them on. So when the South Carolina chill gets down to 29 horrible freezing degrees.
29 is cold.
I
I
mean,
will give her that. That is
it,
cold.
it's not
It's not
that.
7, but it's
No, it's not
not
that. I
nothing.
mean, it's not that bad, man. Jesus. I mean, well,
You have like
you're
no
in
sympathy.
no, you're in Michigan, 29 degrees,
I
and you're
am.
probably. I mean, it's cold, but if you have to go to the
If
mailbox and
there's
you
a
only got flip
wind,
flops.
I would probably put like a hat on. Like,
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, you might put a hat on. See, that's a Michigan gal for you. I respect that.
yeah.
So,
Well,
uh,
if you're wearing a sweatshirt, you don't really need a coat.
precise.
That's
See,
that's
that's
the
the
that's the
wind is the
real
worst thing.
Midwestern way.
Well, the
Yes.
wind is the worst. So,
hmm
now, are
hmm
you in like a flat area or a hilly area?
It's pretty flat.
That's where we're at too. We're in very central Ohio. It's very flat land, and then when you get south into southern Ohio, it gets kind of hilly and that sort of thing. But the
Sure.
flat land,
Yeah.
they have the drifts. Are you familiar with those?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think Lissa knows what a drift is, and she's in the crowd right now, and she's bitching up a storm because it's going to be 24 tonight. 24 degrees.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
So
don't sleep outside. You're fine.
I enjoy it. I was just telling Jody I was gonna. I really like camping in the cold. I enjoy it a lot. It's one of my
Freak.
things in life. So I like. I know you probably do, but I get it. So I will set up the tent in the backyard because I can't. My Jeep is broken right now. It's a sad song, but
Oh,
I will
saddest song.
go. Yeah, I will set up the tent in the backyard and I will sleep out there in the cold. It's my enjoyment. But for Alyssa Gramling, and maybe you can. Alyssa hasn't really gotten the snow before. She's only seen snow once in her life, and she has a picture of it. She's shown me. Can you explain to Alyssa Gramling right now what a drift is? Can you tell us what that is?
Okay, so like the snow falls down, but because the wind is so strong, like one side of the road can have like an inch and the other side of the road can have like 3 feet. And it can be very dangerous to drive in. So that's when I think of drift, that's what I think of. It's how
That's
dangerous it
that's
is to drive in.
that's absolutely perfect. Yeah. So the snow comes down, Lissa. It comes down, and then it
Comes down
right
and it blows.
blows over
It
to.
drifts, if you will, to one side or the other.
That is
That's how that
fantastic.
works.
All right. So I'm sorry. I thank you for helping me make fun of my friend here. I appreciate it.
I am here for it.
I got to ask you because you've gone through something recently, and I'm kind of you're somebody that I respect and I kind of look up to. You've done a lot of really good work over the course of the last year, and I've really enjoyed working on some of it. I've kind of gotten into a slump over the course of the last month, and I think that you've experienced something similar. And I want to see how my friends are
Yes.
dealing with this. I will tell you about mine just really briefly. I quit
Okay.
smoking. I smoked cigarettes for a long time. I quit those like 2 or 3 years ago. I would have like one every month or two or something like that. So I'd started vaping, and I just quit vaping on December 13th. No more vape, and that was
Okay.
a bitch. It was really hard.
I bet. Because
But
I know
then
you even did it like in the booth.
oh yeah, yeah. I had
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
fucking addict. That's what I am. So that went away. But then I started having like a cigarette more than like once every couple of months. I'd have a cigarette like once a night, and then it became like 2 cigarettes a day, and then hey, we're back on again, and so I just quit that again too. And I fell into a slump. I for the quitting vaping thing a few weeks ago, I like crawled under the covers and didn't come out for a couple few days. I was bad, and I just went into a slump again here. Like Sunday, I did the crawl under the covers thing again. At least it didn't last for several days. But my production has been lacking because of this. Over the course of the last
Sure.
month, I've probably missed, I don't know, 4 days of work, 5 days of work, somewhere in there, which is not very like me at all. I'm normally pretty. I go a lot. I love my work. I have. How have you been? I know you have been kind of off over the course of the last month or two as well. Not.
Yeah.
What's going on with you, and how have you dealt with it?
So, like for me, it definitely was. I'm trying to think like when it really started. It was probably it. I should like a lot of 2021 has been kind of like I would be okay and then I would hit like a little bit of burnout and then I'd be okay. And so it's like cycled kind of off and on. And I think probably part of it is like this is only my second year of like full-time writing. So getting into a rhythm that works long term and isn't just go 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 to get a deadline and then have to recuperate for a week or two. And then if you have stuff that's already like you've promised it to people, so you can't even take that week or two to relax. It's like you have to immediately jump into something else. And that was what like the second half of 2021 that I fell into was that because I had already like made promises and had pre-orders up for books, like I had to just keep going, keep going, keep going and not take time off when I needed it. And it's like I could tell like I wrote Reckless in like a month. Like it just like it flew out of me. But writing Temptation, it took me like 2 months. And I was like, this is weird. Like the first book in the series, like it went so easy. Why is and like I'm like ignore like I know why it's not going as easily. Like I know this, but I'm like pretending like I don't. I'm like, gee, I wonder why this is so much harder to be creative. And it's just it's been like they said, it's been a few months of trying to be creative and productive and keep work when you're feeling that way. And then there's always other stuff going on too. Like it's always yes, work stuff is hard, but then there's real life stuff that comes into factor. Like I know that I had mentioned it to you. Like I lost my dog in November, and so it was like on top of everything else, there was that. I have a cat who's on medication and she has to get it twice a day. That has been for months and it can be very exhausting making sure that I wrestle her down and wrap her up in a burrito and make sure she gets her pills twice a day. So it's just like there's real life stuff and then there's like business stuff and it all just kind of like piles on. And so this month I finished my holiday store with like a day to spare. It was insane. And it wasn't even a full day. It was less than a full. I don't want to say how many hours it was that it's like I'm sending it in pieces to my editor so that she could work on it. But and then I was like, okay, well I just have to finish this and then I can take a break. And then it was like, okay, well this isn't getting finished because I need to take a break. So I'll take a couple of days off. And then it's like, okay, I need to work on this. Okay. Then I'm going to take so it's been like patchworking, like trying this whole month of trying to get stuff done, but also try and take some time off. And I don't know if it was actually like I don't know. I don't know words. But um so like last week and this week I'm still like doing a little bit of work, but I've been like trying to actually like not be like so hard on it. Like, okay, well we'll just do a little bit now and then watch Grey's Anatomy for the rest of the day or whatever. So that's how I've been dealing with it, very unhealthily and just trying to get by.
I think you did a pretty good job, dude. I have battled with this for several years of, I think we've talked about this a little bit too before, the muse and basically how you deal with the muse and how you deal with creativity. And my way of dealing with it, now, don't get me wrong, I work really well with my back against the wall. I work well under pressure, but I can't do that all the time. You just
Right, it's
can't.
terrible for your mind and your body.
Oh my God, yes.
Get that adrenaline running and it just doesn't stop.
Yeah, I found myself occasionally I will intentionally put myself in those excuse me, I've got some cum on my throat. I will intentionally put
We
myself
all get like that.
yeah, I know it happens to me a lot in my I put my this Tal Bauer book that I worked on called Whisper is a great example of this, where I put myself intentionally over my head into a situation that I knew was going to stress me out because the book was beyond my ability. I knew it. And I intentionally put myself there because I wanted to challenge myself and push myself beyond what I normally do.
Mhm.
Now, that's a good idea, right? But I can't live there.
Is
I
it?
can't.
Right, right. Every once in a while is okay, but definitely can't live there.
Yeah. Now, have you, I forget if I've asked you this before or not. Have you worked like a hard day job, like one of those jobs that is just like, I fucking hate this every day, just one of those crap jobs?
I worked CPS for 6 months, and that was the hardest 6 months like of my life. Like
Now,
it was the worst job.
what is
Child
CPS?
Protective Services.
Oh, fuck all
In
that.
the state of Michigan, yeah, that's Child Protective Services. So you investigate complaints of child abuse and neglect, and there was a lot. Like each county's different. Like there's a county right next to ours where they had like five investigators, and they would like get like maybe one new case a week. In my county, the county I live in Michigan, is one of the poorest counties, and so when I was there was 13 investigators and including me, and we would each get 3 to 4 new cases each week.
Holy
And
shit.
like that's the and a lot of times it's ridiculous. Like it's not anything. It's a teacher calls in because they're a mandated reporter, and it's because a kid came to school smelling like pee. And it's like that's not abuse. That's you don't know what it is. Like being dirty, being poor, like that isn't abuse or neglect. Like that's just
Mm.
being poor. So it was a lot of going to families and seeing what kind of resources they needed and trying to hook them up with that. But then there's also like the real stuff. Like one of the last cases I worked was a removal. It was the only time in the 6 months I was there I actually had to remove children, and it was because the dad was making meth in the house, and that's an automatic removal because of how dangerous it is. And so uh, that was one of the last ones that I did, and it was not fun. Like the state police were involved, and like I said, they were removed. They went to an aunt's house. It was it was a hard job. It was very difficult. I was like, I can't do this. It's emotionally too much for me.
Well, that is a great, perfect example, right? I've
Okay.
worked some really shitty jobs too. By the way, nothing quite like that.
I
Nothing
don't
quite.
recommend it.
Oh my God. But I've worked some jobs where I've told this story kind of before. I've worked jobs where driving into work in the morning, I've been crossing a bridge, and I cross this bridge every morning going to this job. And I've been thinking to myself, if I just swerve a little bit and go over the bridge, I don't think I'm going to die, but I get the day off work, and that'd be fucking awesome. I've had those thoughts before. This is not that. This is totally not. Anyone that tells you
Right.
being a narrator is a hard job is fucking lying. Or this just ain't it isn't the gig for them. This is not hard. Now, it is challenging, incredibly so, but not hard. I've worked some shit jobs.
Some
This ain't it.
some would argue that those are synonyms, but
Um,
I get what you're saying.
is that like the smell that the Omegas get when the synonym smell that they,
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's what I
Yes,
thought.
that's it exactly.
I mean, challenging, and shitty, or in my world, are two different things entirely. Um,
Okay.
I
And
so
hard
I
is shitty
well,
and challenging
hard can
isn't.
be shitty, I guess. It depends on how hard you push.
Okay.
Sometimes the shit comes out when you these. By the way, that never happens in the sex scenes I've read ever once, and
No,
I would think
no,
it
we don't
probably
do that.
would. I mean, so yeah, this is not my job at
Anyway.
least, and I would imagine an author's job is the same. I would imagine your job is not shitty now. I mean, it's just not.
No.
Um,
Sometimes I have to remind myself that I like actively wanted this. Because I'm like, oh my God, the pressure's so high. Why do I do this? Like, I should just flip burgers. But then I'm like, oh yeah, I wanted this.
the
I love it
if
so much.
if all I ever had to do was just act on the microphone, this would be like. But I mean, there's a running a business
Yes.
part of it. That's the hard part for me.
Yeah, yeah, and that's it. Like, and it's you have to do both to make it a job, like to have a career with it. Like, you
Hmm.
can't just write the books or narrate the books. Like, you actually have to do all of those other things that aren't as much fun and
Yeah.
have people tell you how crappy something you worked really hard on is.
Well, and
Stuff
that's,
like that.
dude, that is such a great fucking. We've talked about reviews a bit, right?
Hmm.
Reviews to
Hmm.
me at this point, there's. I'm going to talk more than I should, and the fans are going to get angry with me here for a second. But I'm gonna
Yeah, they want to
bogard
hear
this.
me, John. They don't want to hear you.
Precisely, I know. Every time I get into this, and then just shut up, John. There are like two or three people in the entire world that, like, if they say, my wife, Anna, maybe Trace at this point, where if they say, hey, you need to change that. This fucking sucks. I actually listen to them. I don't listen to
Hmm.
anybody else. I don't. Now, I take their opinion into consideration for a second, but I don't let them in. Even my good friends in the Brigadiers, I listen to them and I let them encourage me, but I'm not going to let them change my opinion of myself, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
I was not always like that. And reviews used to tear me the fuck up.
Right. I feel like that's a skill you have to learn
It is.
for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely, it is. None of
Yeah.
the reviews, and even like my close friends in the Brigadiers, if they gave me a horrible review or something, like it wouldn't make any difference to me. I would still love them all the same. This is the way it is. Are you at the point where you can handle that kind of rejection, or because you're kind of still a newish author?
No. Yeah, no. I like when I release a book, I usually, go on and check to make sure that like it's in the right categories and that like the rank is actually moving once like sales are actually happening. And then like I'll glance at what like the average star rating is and be like, okay, it seems to be okay. Like it's 4.5 or it's 4.7 or I'm like, okay. And I might, if I'm feeling particularly good about myself, I might like click to look at just the 5-star reviews and be like, nailed it. But I had to like remove Goodreads from my phone. I do not go on there at all. And like I used to just I'd go on and like I'd put my book's information on there and stuff like that. But it's just even on like the author dashboard side of it, like you can see like what the star ratings are for stuff, and like it's too easy to like click on it to check and see like, well, what are people, and the things that people say can be so horrible. And I'm like, but that's like, they're allowed to. Like, I don't get like mad. It's just like upsetting that like something that you were proud of, people don't like. And like, I guess the only time that it's like really upsetting is like when they like drag you for like completely like random reasons. And you're like, that's, or like they're like, oh, this book should have this and this, and I'm like, that's like, if you read the blurb, that's not what the book was about. So I just avoid it. Like I said, I might read some 5-star ones to make me feel good about myself, but that's the extent of it. I've never had very thick skin though. Like I've always like I have to be very careful even working with like other authors, like having them like beta read stuff, because I've had like beta readers who are like, "Oh, this is great, but this part you need to change this because of this," and I'm like, "Okay," and like I just go and like cry because um, I can't like handle like it'll be good for it in the end, but I have to be like very careful about like who I use, because some people like just cut you down. And I'm like, I need it fed to me gently. I'm a sensitive person. So yeah,
You
yeah,
well,
that's
there is, you said it was a learned skill, and it totally is. There's a difference too between I think the last time I looked at reviews without Anna going to look at reviews for me was like 2 or 3 months ago. And I like 99 good reviews, and the one bad one had me pissed off for a few minutes. And I complained to the
mm-hmm.
Brigadiers. I jumped in and I said, "Oh, I looked at reviews again. God damn it." And in a few minutes, I was just fine. But I came to a point where my reviews are my bank account. That's it. I mean, like, if I can still pay my bills, I'm doing all right. And if people are still, now I'm in a fortunate situation where people hire me. You are not. You are actually creating the book. So nobody's coming to you and saying, please write this book, I'll pay you X. But
Yeah, if they did, I'd do it.
yeah, absolutely.
Would that be a better way?
Yeah, it'll be fucking awesome. They will, by the way. It's called ghostwriting, and it fucking sucks. Jody tried that for a bit. But
Oh,
yeah,
oh yeah, never mind. No, I don't want to do that.
that's a whole other deal. People keep hiring me, so I'm like, all right, I guess I'm doing all right.
Yeah,
And
you do an okay job.
yeah, well, that's
Just kidding.
exactly
Love you.
where. That's exactly what. Stop. Some people do, some people don't. But the thing is, they hire me because I'm me, right? Just as
Mm-hmm.
people are reading your books because you're you. And this is the point I want to get across. And this is something that I think maybe I've learned in creative work. I'm not better than the other narrators out there. Totally fucking not. In fact, there are so many talented fucking people out there. Have you heard, like, Nick J. Russo, Michael Leslie, Greg Tremblay, all these fucking guys that are just boggling your mind good. But they can't be me. They just can't.
This is true.
And my clients hire me because I'm me, and the listeners listen to me, sometimes if they're listening just because of the narrator, because I'm me. And Greg can't be me, and neither can Mike. People are reading your books specifically because you're you, and you're writing the way you write. It took me a long time to fucking figure that out. And in fact, it took me a long time to find my own voice. I've read your books. You
Yeah.
have a voice. I think you've probably figured that out already. Don't compete with anybody but you. And those people that are haters,
That is the hard part.
oh God, yeah. Jesus Christ, it is.
Yeah. It's so easy to compare yourself to other people and be like, oh, well, I should be doing this, or I should be ranking that, or I should be making this. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm doing okay. So
Precisely.
that's what you have to focus on, is
Yeah, and
it can be
people
hard though.
can't be Kiki Clark, the author that's fun to wear on your face. So
I like to think not.
I'm,
It's original. The name, the voice, the talent.
I've so enjoyed that one. By the way, I don't even know why I started saying that. Kiki Clark. The
I
name is
don't either. I think it started in Discord when you were working on Temptation, but I don't remember like how it came apart.
it's
Came about, not apart.
it, it's pretty soon. You just watch in a couple of years. It's going to be like on the fucking covers of your books. Kiki Clark, the author that's fun to wear on your face. It's going to be fucking awesome. And I haven't decided if it's the name that's fun to wear on your face or the author. The author sounds a little bit more. Uh,
Risque.
yeah, exactly. So I'd go with that. That's where I'd stick with it. So
Of course you would.
I know you just did that holiday book thing. You are
Hmm.
working with
Hmm.
you are working with another author on some books
Hmm.
as well. Are you doing any more of that coming up in the following year here?
Yeah, so Ian Lindsay and I have a book coming out the 20th. I just had to look at my calendar. I know what days my books come out. Um, that it's coming out January 20th, and it is our first book that we co-wrote together. There definitely will be more. It's super fun because there's like Grim Reapers and like the whole like fated mates thing, and like writes more a little bit more like angsty than I do. Like I'm pretty well known for like fluffiness. But like when you get into Grim Reapers, like death is inevitable. So it was fun like finding a way to like marry our two styles together in a way that it didn't feel like it was hodgepodged. like, so that it's actually like smooth. So yeah, that's coming out this month. And then we are working on something together right now that we are not telling people about yet. It's a secret, so I can't tell you. But there will be more Reapers and possibly, depending on like how people like those books, like there's like we planned three, but there's a possibility of doing like some other stuff in that world because there's like some other paranormal type elements that we introduce that we could be like, okay, we can go into this direction or that direction. If people don't like it, then we're like, okay, we'll just do this. So it'll be interesting to see.
Well, how's the collaboration process going to be different from your normal writing process, and how are you kind of fitting that around your everyday life too? How you're working it?
Oh, fitting into my everyday life. You know, so like the actual writing process is actually like not as hard as I thought it would be because like we're really good friends. Like we were friends before we started working together. So it was one of those like they mentioned that they were going to be working with another author and I'm like, "What the heck? Why aren't you working with me?" They're like, "Do you want to?" And I'm like, "Yes. Why is that even a question? Of course I want to." So that's like how it came about and they were like, "Well, I have this idea about Grim Reapers." And I'm like, "I'm in. I don't need to hear anything else. I am in." So, like, we outlined the book in like 2 hours. I mean, it wasn't like a super extensive outline, but like, we both knew, like, yes, that works. Yes, that works. Like, we were just like agreeing on like everything. And so then when we wrote it, like, we each took a character and like would write a chapter in that character's point of view. And then, like, we'd put it into a Google Doc, and then the other person would write their chapter in their character's point. And like we would message each other, like, "Oh, hey, I know we had this in the outline, but it's not really working. Like, what do you think about this idea?" And like we would kind of chat back and forth like that. So it's collaborative on a lot of different levels, and you have that like built-in alpha reader who's obviously reading as you go because they have to work off of the work that you're already doing. So it was really fun. It was a little bit stressful at first because writes a lot faster than I do. Like a good day for me is like 3,000 words, and it takes me like all day. I shit you not. At one point, they wrote an entire like 3,000 word chapter in like 2 hours, and I was like, BRB retiring. Like, can't compete with that. Like, never gonna be able to. So, like, learning to be like, no, like, it's okay to go at my own pace and take a couple of days instead of a couple of hours to produce a chapter. That's okay. They're not gonna get mad. So yeah, that was probably like the only roadblock really. And then like making sure we don't like overload ourselves with like ideas because we both have like our single stuff that we're writing too. So like as we're going along, we're like, oh, we could do this. Oh, we could do that. Oh, we could do this. And it becomes like, okay, well, let's like, write down these ideas. So we have like six different potential series ideas. We're like, let's see how this goes before we jump into anything else. So it's been fun. Like it's different, but you really only have to write like half a book to get like a full book. So that's useful too. So,
How is
but yeah.
this is going to be a weird question, right? But
Okay.
how does how does the money work? Like when you're doing a collab like that, do you like incorporate and do like an LLC or something, or do you just one person you trust them and they just give you the money? How does it work?
So it depends on the authors. I know authors who that's what they did. Like they created an LLC, then they create a bank account with that, and then you create a separate what's called a KDP account. So that's how you publish on Amazon, Kindle Direct Publishing. So that it's all under like this joint account. You can see all the reports, you can see everything. It goes into the one bank account and then you split it from there. Um, we haven't done that yet, and it's because we're friends. Like if we hadn't known each other as well as we did before we started, like we probably would have. Um, but and I know a lot of authors do like contracts stating like certain terms and stuff like that. We don't do that either. I unless you really know and trust someone, I don't recommend not at least doing that. But we're just like, let's see what happens. So, uh, so just one of you, yeah, uploads it under your account, and then like you can share, like you can download reports and share things, and then send the money through PayPal or Venmo or whatever, whichever way
Hmm.
you want to do it, when you get paid each month. So,
I've seen I've seen authors do it several ways like that, and actually I've a
mhm.
couple of my very close friends that do it exactly like you just described it. As long as you're close and friends, I think it works out fine.
Yeah.
I always wondered if there was like a little. I think you pretty much got to be good friends to get into this kind of relationship, anyways, where you're dual writing a project. You know,
Mhm.
otherwise I can't see how it would work. Thank you for answering that, by the way. I know that was awkward.
No problem.
One of the people in the crowd here, and I'm sorry, I'm trying desperately not to say your names for most people in the crowd because we're posting this on YouTube, and that gets kind of funny here and there. But somebody in the crowd
Oh,
asked,
okay.
whoa, let's see here. I just love Kiki's supernatural shifter books. Absolutely fantastic. It
Well, thank you.
sounds like you're kind of going to be going back into that with the Grim Reaper kind of thing. Is the Grim Reaper a shifter thing kind of?
I mean, it's set in like a supernatural kind of world. Like there's like witches and like the fates who like decide people's fates, whether they live and die and stuff. Like they're I don't want to say people, they're because they're not people, they're fates. But and then like reapers in our universe, they're people who have died and they're given the opportunity to become a reaper. Like they're given a scythe and a cloak, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to help people who die move on to the other side?" And they're like, "Yeah, all right, sounds like a jam."
Mm.
So if they don't like shift into anything else. They just have like the cloak and their big dagger thing
It,
to
it's still
slice through the veil.
there's a name for that, right? And I thought it was Scythe for the longest time. It's not pronounced Scythe. I didn't know.
Isn't it scythe?
Scythe, yeah,
Scythe,
Scythe.
scythe, scythe, scythe?
So
Yeah.
I did a book. It
That's
was a
like the name of
Tantor.
the series. I don't know how to say the word.
Yeah, well, I did this book for Tantor, and that word
Mhm.
came up. I forget the number. It was over 80 times. And I'm a
Oh.
fucking redneck from the Midwest. I said Scythe every fucking because I'm an idiot. Yeah, talk about that was a fun day.
Some revisions.
That was a fun day in the studio, to say the least. Now I know, and knowing is half the battle. Go, Joe.
Yeah.
When are you getting back to the motorcycle club guys banging each other? When are you going back to that one?
So that's actually the next book that I'm working on. I start next week on it's going to be Houston, who's the club's VP,
Hmm.
and it's going to be his book. It's called Yearning, and that's coming the end of March. I think I have it set for.
Excellent.
So, and then I don't know if I'll have I don't know. It depends on like how good I am about like sticking to my not trying to work so much strategy. I might try
Hmm.
and sneak in another like project, or I might just jump into the next Kincaid Pack book because that's coming in July. So I guess we'll
Somebody at
see.
or I missed a question from earlier on, and I can't scroll back. I was trying to scroll back to grab it. There's a lot of comments in here, but somebody had asked about the Kincaid Pack stuff, so thank you for answering that.
Mhm.
So you said it is on schedule for you. It's just coming up, kind of the I guess the second quarter of this year, somewhere in there.
Yeah, yeah. I have it set for July 7th or July 8th. That'll be the fifth one, and then there'll be the sixth and final book in that series either the end of this year or the very beginning of next year. Like those books take me a long time to write because like there's so much like many rules that I've set within that world. Like I have to follow all of those rules. And so it like really slows me down. I'm like, wait, can they do that? Are they allowed to do that? Wait, what did I say? Stores were on Main Street? Wait, what did I? So like there's a lot of like write a little check, write a little check.
Do you do
So
a
it
do
slows me down.
like a character Bible or anything? Do you do any of that for it?
Yeah, I pay somebody to keep a series Bible because it would take me never. I would never do it. I would never have the patience to do it. But this girl Rachel, who I adore, she does it for me, and it's so thorough. There's so much information in it, more than I could ever use ever. And but anything that I need to know, I can find in this spreadsheet that she makes for me. So I'll probably still like reread the first four books before I start the fifth one because I feel like that's the best way to get back into that mentality because the Kincaid back is like a very specific, I don't know, like the Leather and Chrome books still have like that like found family, like we're here for each other. Other characters pop up in the books and stuff like that. But like with the Kincaid pack, like they're like legit family and like live in each other's pockets and are constantly, you know, getting into each other's business and stuff. So it helps to really get into the pack and like reread the books. That's what I did before I wrote the fourth one because it had been a while since the third one had come out and I was like,
Hmm.
I feel like I'm distanced from the characters. I need to get back in there and I think it helped. I don't know. The fourth book scared me
I've
because it was
heard
my
so much
firsthand.
about those. I've heard a lot about those books, and I obviously didn't narrate them, so I haven't read them. But you're,
No.
but you're, they're obviously good books. I've heard a lot from a lot of people about them. So they're, and I think you're doing a good job by going back and reading them like that. But I'm not an author, so I don't know shit from Shinola. But I myself, I mean, I keep. I keep kind of notes on character voices and that sort of thing, and
Hmm.
I'll have to revisit them, especially like if I'm going back to a series that I've worked on for. I have one that I've been working on for 8 years called Bubba the Monster Hunter, and I have voice notes and book notes from 7 or 8 years ago that I have to revisit occasionally just to see what the hell I did. Somebody asked
That
a
makes
question
sense.
about the Kincaid pack being brought to audio. I didn't ask this. Somebody else did in the comments. It's not fucking me. Are you going to bring the Kincaid
Just
pack to audio?
so the first three books are in audio. Kurt did them through
Hmm.
Tantor. That was like when I first got. I don't really listen to a lot of audiobooks. I'm sorry. um, when I'm listening, I want to be listening, and so then I don't get anything done. Whereas I know other people, they're like, "Oh, I listen while I'm doing this or I'm doing that," and I'm like, "No, like if I'm doing things, then I'm not listening. I'm gonna miss the story. Like I want to just read." That's just how my brain works. But so like I didn't know any like narrators when I like was contacted, and Tantor was like, yeah, we'll take the series. And I was like, okay. And they're like, who do you want? Like, we have a couple of ideas. Like, what about Kurt Graves? I was like, I've heard of him. He's done some TJ Klune books. I actually know that guy's name. And I'm like, here, have him do a sample I had Kurt Graves do a sample read for me, because that's the kind of boss lady I am.
You're kind of a big deal. Yeah.
I had one book published, and I was like, let's have him do a sample read. And he did it, and I was like, sounds perfect. I don't know, it could have been horrible. I don't really know, but so that's how I ended up with Kurt. And I mean, and he's lovely. I love him. He's very sweet. I wrote the first two Kincaid Pack books, and then I did a contemporary called Laying Pipe. And I was like, oh, I should do it in audio. I'm like, but I don't want Tantor to do it. I want to do it, like, so I can make more money off of it. And so I like messaged him through Facebook. I was like, hey, can I like hire you myself? Like, that's how naive I was. I didn't know how it worked. And he's like, yes, absolutely. Let's Skype and talk about your options. I was like, okay. So he was great. But so he's doing that. The fourth book isn't in audio yet because I got the rights back from Tantor for the fourth and fifth book so that I could do them myself. So he's starting it on February, the 2nd, whatever that Monday is. So like the first week of February, he's starting the fourth book. And then I already have him scheduled to do the fifth one. So that one should come out pretty close to when the ebook comes out.
Excellent.
So I hope that answers that question.
I think it does. And honestly, I didn't know that Kurt did the books, but Kurt's fan-fucking-tastic. He's the bomb. I love him to death. Somebody mentioned that I idolize him, and I actually kind of do. I look up to Kurt quite a bit. I remember specifically the day and the time when I met him face to face, and I was like totally fanboy. And so he's amazing. So yeah, you did good. But the funny thing you said in there to me was he did TJ Klune. I've given him so much shit over that TJ Klune thing because, and he gives himself shit too. It's fucking hilarious. But there are some authors that just like they put you on the map, and that is certainly.
And that's he had just gotten big a couple ago, and so like I've only read like one or two of his books, so.
Mm-hmm. I've never read one because
okay.
No, he didn't hire me.
You haven't narrated, right? You only read the ones you narrate.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've only read a couple of them, and I know people I've never read his like Wolf books. Wolf Song, I think, is the first one or whatever, and people like die over it. They're like, oh my god, like I cried so much, it's so good. And I'm like, the fact that you put It's So Good and I Cried So Much together makes me think I wouldn't like it. It sounds too angsty for me. So I think I might own it because I might have bought it when it was on sale at some point. Like I got like a BookBub notification, and I was like, oh, I'll buy it. Maybe one day I will be mentally fortified enough to read this book. But if I'm not, I'm not. So yeah, but that's the only reason I knew who he was. Because I was like, well, oh, Kurt does his books.
That type of book, as a reader, like I haven't had a chance to read for pleasure since I started this gig. Like really, I haven't. I've the only books I've listened to. I listen to a lot of nonfiction, so I will listen to books to learn. I love learning, but to like listen to a fiction book, I just when am I gonna fucking do that? I can't. But if I gravitate to some of the high drama books because they're fun as hell to be an actor. And like, if you talk to any actor and you're like, would you like a role being, an ex-heroin addict that got the shit beat out of them and got left behind a dumpster? And they're like, fuck yeah, give me that role. That sounds great. Right. Would you like a role in a fluffy? Precisely. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong, I'll do rom-coms and I'll do everything else, but those things are fun as shit. The real angsty stuff is just a blast to be as an actor. But that being said, you need a break from it. I just went through that recently where I did like a super heavy book and I had to fucking step back. And luckily I got sex. I just got like 3 sex books in a row. And this is like, it's just fucking from one end to the other. And I work in an industry
Was
where I
one
can
of them
get that.
mine? I feel like you're denigrating my book.
No, and I'm not,
You're
it
like,
wasn't,
God,
in
all of
fact.
it's sex.
But if you have a sex book, give it to me, and I'd be more than happy to do some growly voices. Um, there's there's nothing wrong with some good old fashioned fucking occasionally for about 6.5 finished hours. That's
Right? Just 6.5 finished hours of nonstop sex.
just fucking over
That's
and
what we
over and
like.
over again.
That's what we like.
Well, I can't think of a better place to wrap it up.
Okay.
We've done fantastic. No, we're almost on 50 minutes, and you did great.
Oh,
So a couple things. First off,
okay.
as you know already, you're welcome here anytime you want. Please come back. You're a great guest and a great friend at this point, and come back anytime you want to. Make fun of me. That'd be awesome. Two, I missed a shit ton of comments. I changed my setup in here as I always do. I fiddle, and so now the comments are over here. So when you see me looking over here, I'm looking at comments, and like I can't, for some reason, Facebook won't let me scroll back through all of them. Right, so I missed a bunch. So if you can go in and answer some questions, that'd be awesome. Then you
Sure.
can do that after the fact. Um, thirdly, now we'd talked about this Christmas book, right? And
Mm,
we'd discussed this whole Christmas book. Somebody asked in
yeah.
here, for one, at this point, I say if you still want me to do the audio in a few months or whatever, we'll do that before next year, right? I think it's a good idea.
Right?
Um,
Yeah.
but somebody had asked about it, so I'm going to scroll back because that somebody just happens to be my lovely TNA, Tracy Johns. She said, "Is it out yet?" So, did your
Oh,
Christmas book
yeah.
actually come out?
Yes,
Excellent.
it came out the 21st of December. Yeah, that was the Tuesday before. It was supposed to come out December 6th. I don't want to talk about how late so that's why, and like I finished it, like it had to be uploaded the Friday before, the 19th or whatever that was, by like 8 p.m. And I uploaded it at like noon on Friday, and I was like, well, that was stressful. And I'm like, should I even tell John at this point about it? Should I even ask if he has time? Like, they're not going to approve it in time. It's going to be like mid-January before it comes out. And I'm like, that. So yeah, I'm like, one of these days I'll let him know
Nah, nah,
what a
we'll get
mess
to
I
it.
am.
We'll get to it. Well, I knew that you were going through the same kind of thing as me. So honestly, by
Yeah.
the time it happened, I was crawled under some covers, like going through nicotine withdrawal. So it was all good. But I will tell you this: I went through a surprising thing this year. We all use ACX as a distributor, most of us do, anyways, right? So
Mhm.
I was telling you. ACX has this, for anyone listening that doesn't know this, ACX has like this cutoff. Coming up every year to the holidays, they get a surge of audiobooks coming through, and they tell you, you have to get your project submitted by, and this year it was December 6th. December
Mhm.
6th. Otherwise, your project is not going to come out until next year. I'm here to tell you, I submitted 3 projects after December 6th, and all of them came out the next day.
Those motherfuckers.
Which goes
We
to
definitely
prove
could have done it.
It goes to prove one thing, that Melissa
Okay.
Gramling is a bigger deal than me. That's what I think it proves. But anyways, I love you, Kiki. Thank you so much for coming on. Have
I love you
fun.
too.
Yep. Say bye. Wave to the camera. We'll see y'all next
Bye,
time.
everybody.